Greetings YouTube, welcome back to this video tutorial. I prepared two classes for this video. The first one I called it views class. As you can see, it has three member constants here, one, all, and search. Each represent the function that we will use from the class that we defined earlier, the class wallpapers. And then we have two member variables here. The variable to view, it represents with it we will decide which function that we will use, and the variable db, it represents it will hold an instance of the class wallpapers. We have here three functions that we are not defining yet. As you can see here, we can view this class as an abstract class that is not intended to be instantiated, since these functions are not defined. But the public function view, it will have, depending of the value of the variable to view, either we are viewing one wallpaper or all of them, or we are searching, depending of the variable of the value to view. Here, this class, we will extend it to the view wallpapers class. Also, I defined these variables here. The first one is the ID. If we are intending to view one wallpaper, we will require its ID or a search query. Of course, these two variables represent the number of wallpapers we will show per page if we are browsing all wallpapers or we are searching multiple wallpapers. And the first will represent the first row that we will fetch from our wallpapers class that we already defined here in the main functions, all and search. If we go back to the view wallpapers class, the three functions that we did not define but we declared in the views wallpaper, these three functions here are defined here in the view wallpapers. One, for now, I am just showing these messages. Either we are showing one wallpaper, or we are showing all of them, or searching. So let's try this. If we go back to our index.php, instead of instantiating the wallpapers class, we create a view wallpapers class, and then we call the only public function in this class is the view function. Here we are showing nothing because we have not decided which function that we will use. But here in the constructor, if I do this to view gets the value of self all, which means we are deciding now that we want to view the all wallpapers. If I save this, the function that we will be calling is the all function, because here in the views classes, when we switch the value to view, we will get the case of all self all. So I will see here showing all wallpapers starting from, since we are not defining the start value here, the first value. As you can see, what will decide this is the constructor. We will see a way to get the value or to instantiate the value of the view. To do this, we will decide by the URL. We will pass the URL of our website. So here we will do some little work here. So first we will decide the types of URLs that we will get in our website. Either we are showing the root website, the index.php file, or /wallpapers. Here you can see that I omit the host name, so the HTTP as something my website.com or something slash wallpapers. So I will only talk about the URI request, the request URI. So we are either looking for wallpapers or slash wallpapers slash, for example, all slash one. I decide this is the behavior I want for my website. You can do something different if you want. Here I consider the all just a keyword and one to be the first page. This number here represents the pages. It could be the page number 5 or the number 50. I could have a URL that looks like something like wallpapers slash full slash 111. Here full is just a keyword and this number represents the ID of the wallpaper. Here I intend to show the ID, the wallpaper of ID 1 if I have a URL that has full here. This number here represents 1, the ID of the wallpaper. I could have a URL of the type wallpapers slash, for example, nature slash 1. Here nature is the search request and 1 represents the page again. 1 could be the page number 1 or 5 or 50. This is the behavior I will consider for my website. So if I go back here to my constructor, I will get this value here. The parts of my URL, I will take the request URI from the server array here, explode it by the character slash to get the parts from the URL, just like here, the first part, the second, and the third part. And then after testing with the explode and array slice, if I take only the two if I remove the two first values from my request URI, I will get what I just show you here. If you want to test it, I will print this URL part, and if I go back here, it will be, let's save this. So an empty array, but if I do something like this, wallpapers, it shows nothing. The first value is 1. If I do something like this, wallpapers slash full slash 1, the only relevant values that I need from my URL is the full keyword and the value 1, which is the ID that I want. I could have something like all. I get all and the ID is not defined or the page is not defined. I could have slash 1 or the page number 50. I could have, instead of all, I could have nature. So this line of code here works as I want, as I intend. So all I have to do is to make some logic about these values of my URL parts to decide which is the ID and which is the search query, and the first value that I will get from the first page, if you want, or the first column from or row from my database. So let's go back here. First we check if the URL part is empty, like this. If it is empty, then we will view all the wallpapers starting from the first row. With this, we would have handled these two cases here, and all that remains is the three cases here. As you can see, the first part or the index 0 of our URL parts will be always either all or full or something else. So if it is not empty, if URL part 0 is not empty, else we will switch its values in these three cases. The first case, if it is all, this first case here, the index 1 from our URL parts should be an integer. So in case of all, to view will be self all, and if it not empty URL parts 1 and it is a digit, then this first should be URL parts 1. Else we start from the first, or the first equals 0. This is the first case, we just handled it. The second case, if we are viewing a full wallpaper, in this case we must check if the index exists or the ID of our wallpaper exists. This case, if we have full but no ID, then we should not consider it to be a single wallpaper. So to do so, we will check if it is not empty URL parts 1 and it is a digit. Only in this case we have the first to be URL parts. Actually it should be this ID, not first, should be URL parts 1, and to view is self 1. This is the second case. The default case should always be like this. Self in this case will be search, and if not empty URL parts 1 and it is a digit, the first is URL parts 1, otherwise it is 0. And the search query, let's remove this dollar here. The search query will be URL decode URL parts 0. URL parts 0 in this case is nature. Let's test this. Save. Here. In this case, the URL part 0 is empty, so we should showing all and cut error. Let's try this. Constant all, yes, I forget about this. Here it should be all like this. So in this case we will show all wallpapers starting from 0. If we have an all like this, also starting from 0. If we have 50, showing all wallpapers starting from 50. Here instead of all, if I type full, showing wallpaper ID 50. If I have something else like nature, showing wallpapers tagged nature starting from 50 or from 4. So thank you very much for watching. We are ready now to add some HTML to show this. Everything is ready. It is for now. I could remove this echo here and do a simple, actually, and I forgot something in the constructor. The constructor, after all this, I could do something like this: db equals new wallpapers. With this we are fully ready to do something like this: var or the wallpaper equals this db 1 this ID. and dump it. Let's try this. Okay, show full and ID, let's say 10,001. Great, we are ready to show some wallpapers. See you in the next video.